What's going down, y'all? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about Battlefield 6 versus Call of Duty Black Ops 7. There's been a lot of discussion within the first-person shooter gaming community about which one's going to be the one to take over the crown, and well, it looks like it's going to be Battlefield 6. We all know that. But I got to bring up a couple of things because there's a reason why Call of Duty has fallen off. I want to talk about some of those things that I've noticed, and this is, of course, coming from a veteran of both of these games. For particularly, I've played Call of Duty since the PlayStation 2 days, back when Call of Duty was first introduced to consoles. And then also Battlefield, I believe I've been playing since Bad Company 1. I think that was on the PlayStation 3. And so Battlefield has definitely been a part of my rotation of games. And in fact, I probably had most of my best years playing first-person shooters on Battlefield. You know, and looking back at what some of my favorite games, obviously Battlefield 3 was one of the ones. Battlefield 1 was easily my favorite first-person shooter during the PS4 era. Call of Duty had its heyday. You know, obviously you had Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare that came out in 2007. Shortly after, you had Modern Warfare 2, and then you had Black Ops. And I want to talk about some of that today. So let's get into the discussion. Now, first and foremost, I'm playing on console. I'm playing on the PlayStation 5 Pro. It's been excellent. The beta ran really smooth. I'm getting plus 100 frames per second. Playing Battlefield 6. It's just been excellent. And all the footage that you're seeing here is recorded directly from the PlayStation. No external equipment, no PCs, no capture cards, just straight from the PlayStation. And so it's a self-made ecosystem, and that's what my channel has been pretty much focused on, is just using the PlayStation, making my low content. My channel is not a big channel, but I tell you what, the gameplay, I try to go for really good footage. I try to give you guys excellent footage. I do a lot of editing to make sure the action stays consistent. And, you know, obviously my gameplay kind of goes to show for itself that I've definitely been the type of person to play these type of games for a long time. Recently, I bought last year when Black Ops 6 came out, I did give it a try, but there was an issue that I found with Black Ops 6, and that's that I like to buy physical copies of my games. And it wasn't until after I had already purchased the game that I found out that it was just a game key and not an actual real copy of the game. This was a big issue for me because I prefer to have actual ownership of the games that I buy, especially now with the PS5 Pro, with my disc drive that I've added to the console. It's just been a priority for me to always go for physical copies for games that make sense to get it for, right? Games that have a single player campaign, games that have that longevity and just overall tangibility that you don't see in a lot of those games that are live service only, right? So if it's fully multiplayer only, sometimes I'll go for digital for that. But for games like Black Ops 6, which had a single player, I went ahead and gave that a try. But there was a major issue with that too. Black Ops is fundamentally different from the Modern Warfare series, and that's that it really has this psychedelic aspect to the game, which I don't really like for the campaigns. And I never actually was really into zombies. In fact, I'm actually kind of sort of against zombie shit. As a PlayStation fan, I never even got into Days Gone or Last of Us, let alone, you know, zombie mode and Black Ops. Maybe, I think the one game that I actually played zombies was Black Ops 2 back in the day. But Black Ops 2's campaign was actually, for the most part, pretty much a military-focused type of game. It didn't really go all into the funky, crazy shit that you see in some of these more recent Black Ops campaign modes. And so that's one of the things that I did not like. Like, I actually got really pissed off playing the campaign of Black Ops 6 because it goes from 1 second where I'm actually doing some military type shit to fucking fighting, aliens and monsters and shit. I'm like, this shit is stupid, bro. This isn't Call of Duty. Okay, it's just not. Even if it's Black Ops is supposed to be like your Spec Ops, you know, like just, it's not supposed to be all the way out there like that. And that's something that I think is dumb. When I saw that trailer for Black Ops 7, and I saw that giant that's just like coming over the horizon and they're in this kind of strange like environment. I don't know if it's VR, whatever the fuck it is. It just looks stupid. It's like, that's not Call of Duty, yo. I'm used to Call of Duty being the dude bro game, the you know, take point like Jackson, you know what I'm saying, Ramirez, move up, take the objective. Like, that's the Call of Duty I grew up. Captain Price, you know what I'm saying, Soap, Roach, the boys, that was the Call of Duty that set the tone for what Call of Duty's defining theme was, right? The actual warfare. You know, Siege of Cairo in the Battlefield 6 beta, it gave me that old school feeling from back in the days where we were fighting in Afghanistan on Call of Duty, or we were fighting in the Middle East. You know, even the actual campaign, the theme behind it's very reminiscent of Battlefield 3 and some of the other games in the series, but also very similar to Call of Duty, which actually makes a lot of sense because the creative director, the person that's running the show for Battlefield 6, is actually somebody that comes from Call of Duty, the father of Call of Duty, and so it's almost like as if he's kind of making a love letter to the Call of Duty fans, but back with EA, because you got to understand, this guy used to actually make Medal of Honor, and Medal of Honor was a game that was made by EA, and then they had fired him. He went to he created Infinity War. That's when they started making Call of Duty, right? So it's kind of this back and forth where it's kind of come full circle for the creative direction for these games, and it's actually been steered by that guy, and I forget his name, but that's not what's important. What's important is which game is going to bring the heat, and it is definitely Battlefield. And one thing I want to say to Call of Duty streamers, people that really are into like the battle royales and just going for clips, I understand that, but obviously Battlefield is a completely different game. You don't get kill streaks in this game. You are the kill streak. You drive the tank. You fly the helicopter. You got, or maybe you have a pilot. You're the chopper gunner. And really it comes down to the teamwork, right? Later in this clip, you're going to see some excellent fucking teamwork. I had the most amazing squad. Our tank pit crew just held it down. We were playing Breakthrough. And when the game comes together like that, that's when Battlefield is the goddamn shit. And nothing can come close to it, man. It's like it's the greatest type of camaraderie building game. Now, back in the day, I used to run with a crew named Dark Side Alliance. Shout out to those that are that are still in that little gaming clan. But back in the day, I used to be the QA or the QC, where I was basically commanding multiple squads, and we had our own server. This was back in the Battlefield 3 days. I also was basically a commander for our Dust 514 regiment. For those of you that know the first-person free-to-play MMO FPS, that was Dust 514. And so another war-type game. So I like these types of games because I know how to get people together and make them really click. Whatever people's talents are, I'll find a way to work them into the field in a way that's very effective and get them in the right squads. And of course, communication is something that really brings a whole community together. So hopefully Battlefield kind of steps even further in the right direction by adding comms, team comms, squad lead comms. Those are things that I remember from back in the Battlefield 3 days that really brought out the best potential in a game like this where team play is essential. And of course, as Black Ops 7 continues to really receive all the criticism right now, Black Ops is just... It's weird because you have two Black Ops games coming out back-to-back within back-to-back years, right? And so because of that, they've gone with this move-it-forward approach where all those damn cosmetics that they've been putting in the store, charging you $20, $30 for a cosmetic pack. Let's be honest, that's stupid as hell. That's way too much for a goddamn skin. I don't care how you put it. I don't know what it is that's gotten into some of these companies trying to charge for these skins that cost as much as entire games. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. And they've really made that the forefront of what it is, because what's being pushed right now is a streaming, content creating culture. And I get it, you know what I'm saying? I get it, because that brings more excitement, brings more camaraderie, brings more, you know what I'm saying, just anticipation for a game's release. And so content creators have a huge part to play in how a game is developed for. One of the biggest things that I see that kind of gets on my fucking nerves whenever I see COD streamers and even Battlefield content creators, they always have the thumbnail with the fucking reload animation where the gun is showing on the screen, and it's like the gun's taking up at least half the screen because it's like, hey, here's my gun, here's the camo that I have for my gun. And that thumbnail culture within the content creation community for first-person shooters, that's toxic as fuck, because that type of thing pushes skins even further. Hey, this is the camo I spent $30 for my gun, or this is the camo that I grinded, fucking 72 hours straight for to, within the first 3 days of the game's launch to get this camo first. So it's like a I got it first type of culture where when it comes to cosmetics that people get that FOMO where it's like, oh, well, I need that camo so that my gameplay looks cool. But really, in all honesty, most people that play the game, no one gives a fuck what your camo is because they're not watching your content online, let alone barely even getting a glimpse of your gun when you're actually on screen fighting against them. And at the most, maybe they'll see, if you're playing Call of Duty, the death cam where it shows your gun for half a second. So there's this skin push, right, where that's a huge part of it. And you fuckers that do the thumbnail thing, and I don't even know, maybe I've done that in the past before, I'm pretty sure I have, but when you do that for every fucking video, it's stupid. It's kind of fucking obnoxious, right? Like, and even the biggest YouTubers, even on Battlefield, they're all prone to doing this. But what I'm saying though is that because that's the thing, the camos that are different, like what separates your thumbnail with your gun reload animation pick is the camo that you have on the gun. And that's fucking dumb as hell, bro. Like, when are we gonna acknowledge that shit, bro? I don't really hear people talking about that. But if you agree with what I'm saying, please say something in the comments. Share this video with other people because we don't really want all of that dumb shit coming to Battlefield. Battlefield is the ultimate dude bro game because you know, you get an ice chest sitting next to you, get a couple, 6 packs, 12 packs, whatever, how many fucking beers you could drink, or maybe a strong drink, right, whiskey, and that sort of thing. You just kind of, you're just chilling, playing with the boys, and it's not super sweaty because it's not using skill-based matchmaking like Call of Duty does. Now, when I played Black Ops 6, I did enjoy it for quite a while. I did play with crossplay, so I'm on PS5 Pro, and I'm maxing out at 120 frames per second. I'm playing against fucking PC sweats, right? And it gets to the point where it's like, okay, the algorithm is putting me against people with the same KD as me, the same reaction times as me, the same, movement, positioning capabilities, people that actually can run through a map, get a chopper gunner, right? And you put a bunch of people together that can actually get a chopper gunner in a typical match, and it becomes sweaty as hell where everybody's like 10-7 and fucking 16-12. And then it's like, why the fuck am I playing this shit again? I'm trying to get these clips that show, actual kill streaks, where I'm getting a good amount of kills before dying. And it's cool when you get it, but then the game punishes you for having fun like that. Battlefield doesn't really do that. One, because there's just way too many motherfuckers in the same match. And then two, because it's not prioritizing skill-based matchmaking. It's prioritizing what? Latency, connection strength. That's fucking badass. That's what gives you the best experience, and you need that with this many people in the lobby. So, again, Battlefield, doing the right things. And I got to talk about a couple things. Maybe, if anything, some things that I really want to see improvements on that are going to set this game up to really take the next step in taking over the FPS genre. Server browsers. Server browsers are exactly what allowed me and my comrades from back in the day to actually all play together. We even, like I said, rented our own server. I think it was like $8 a month back in the Battlefield 3 days, and our Dark Side Alliance clan actually had something going. I got a crew, the ISUPK and the Commanding General Johanna. We got a couple brothers that like to play some video games whenever we got the goddamn chance to, because, we're slaving away all fucking week at our slaveries. We're putting in tons of work, community, charity work, all that type of stuff. But when we get the chance to play some games, these boys, a lot of my brothers in the school, they've had experience from growing up playing games just like this, and so we want to be able to play together, and the server browser is the perfect way to do so. Another thing too is the game needs to support those large groups. If we can have lobbies where we can have 12 people, 16 people, or just some kind of way where we can all say, hey, look, go to server number 1572, and they're all like, okay, let's look it up. Oh yeah, this one's got room for everybody, so we all can jump in there, and then we'll figure out how to actually stick around there and try to get on the same team. I know that that's not always completely possible, because when you jump into a lobby with that many people that you want to team up with, it's really hard to balance the servers in that way. But it's possible, especially if you have your own server. So that's why that's a huge deal, and that's something that it just completely separates Battlefield from every other game out there. the flow of content is going to be vital for the continued interest in this game, and Battlefield is in a great position to actually execute this the right way. Whereas with Call of Duty, you have different actual games being made by their studios that all kind of deal with each other, right? There's plenty of studios that consist of the Call of Duty franchise, and so those are split up because there's multiple games that are being worked on at the same time. You got one making Modern Warfare, you got one that's maybe working on a World War II game, you got one that's working on Black Ops or whatever the hell's going on. So there's a split there. What DICE is doing is they have a ton of people that are working on one Battlefield game. Now, I know I've heard rumors about them trying to go with the yearly cadence for releases. I don't know if that's even possible with the theme that they have in this game. It would have to really step each game up with a whole new story mode, with a lot of new content. But what I will say is that the theme that this game has is actually damn near the exact same theme that Battlefield 3 was. And so being able to bring content from Battlefield 3, like, oh shit, I'm trying to think of some of the ones. Well, obviously Caspian Border could be one of them, right? Because that's on the edge of Iran, and that goes pretty much right along with some of the plot going on in actual Battlefield 6, where you have Azerbaijan and Georgia getting attacked, their NATO base is getting attacked by Russia, which is kind of something that could be very possible in real life because Azerbaijan is hooking up with NATO and the IDF. And Russia doesn't like that. Iran doesn't like that. So it's very well possible that they can kind of sneak in some of those maps, and it still fits in with the whole theme of this game. So the content flow, where you have some studios that are working on basically porting over old maps. Then you have new maps that can consistently be made that can really take things a step further. I really like Siege of Cairo, not because it's a close quarters map, but because it's kind of a large-scale version of some of those maps that we do remember from Call of Duty. So it's not really close quarters, because close quarters in Battlefield is really close quarters. This is not that. You still have vehicles. You still have some stuff going on there. I wouldn't mind some squad call-ins. That's another thing that I think they could bring over from a previous Battlefield game that's kind of cool. Have a hypersonic missile call-in, right? Similar to what they did with Battlefield 5, where you had a Tomahawk. Basically, it was like a Tomahawk missile that you can call in after the squad got to a certain amount of points. So that's a pretty cool thing, and that's another reason why you want to squad up and coordinate with your teammates, right? Certain shit like that could be kind of cool. Now, what I'm not going to say is let's go full on with kill streaks, right? DICE has flirted with that before with Medal of Honor. In fact, one of my favorite Medal of Honor games, Medal of Honor Warfighter, was damn near a direct competitor to Call of Duty because they had that close quarter style and still had kill streaks. If you look up any footage from that game, you'll see some of that stuff is very similar to Call of Duty. I even think they had a chopper gunner in that game too. But it goes without saying, some of that stuff maybe you could flirt with that could really shake the things that Call of Duty, because it's funny how in Call of Duty you can have a chopper gunner, you can have a jet that'll strike a location, but the buildings are just not like damaged at all, right? So the people that are hiding in the building, they get a free pass just from being indoors during the time that the AC-130 is hitting. In Battlefield, they wouldn't be able to get away with that. So kill streaks would actually be more real to life than what they would be in Call of Duty. And you can really experiment with some things like that. Battlefield 3 had a similar experience when you had the, I think it was the Armored Kill expansion. You had an AC-130 on one of those maps. In fact, that would be a perfect map to bring over because that was a very large-scale map that I think the community wouldn't mind having. So some of those Armored Kill maps, I mean, golly, I could go back and talk about all of them. Aftermath, I think, was another DLC that had some really good environments. There was even a CQC DLC for Battlefield 3 that was just incredible and perfect for what we wanted from Battlefield for that particular type of mode, right? Because sometimes when you play Battlefield, you have different moods. You're not always wanting to have the same exact experience every time you turn on the game. So having that variety is great. And then, of course, with the Battle Royale, it's going to bring another type of mode, type of mood, and type of gameplay to the forefront of Battlefield and making it free to play. Very smart move for DICE. Because Firestorm wasn't that, and Firestorm was a World War II based battle royale, which I think maybe, isolated some people from wanting to try it or wanting to buy the game to get it. With this, you're not going to have to worry about that. You're just going to be able to try it out. And the real question is, well, how is that going to carry over from your progress that's being done on the actual multiplayer game, Battlefield 6, right? So incentivizing people to go back and forth between the two, that's going to be interesting as well. So basically, server browsers, team chat, maybe even having squad lead chat, different ways to communicate, different ways to keep squads together that are larger than 4. This is a very large scale game, so having more people being able to coordinate together is definitely important. Like I said, the actual flow of the content that they're bringing out, whether through seasons or through anything like that. Obviously, one of the best things about live service games is that people don't have to pay for DLC, so those maps just show up. And then, of course, their revenue comes through battle passes. But let's not get too carried away with the skins, obviously. But we want to see some cool guns. We want to see everything start to take shape and really come back to the Battlefield that we all know and love, and grew up with, but with new graphics, new action. Obviously, Battlefield 6 is shaping up to be a very versatile game that's going to give you whatever type of experience you're looking for. And so we're going to continue this conversation. This is going to be it for me today. I hope you guys enjoy the video. We got lots of really badass footage on the way. So here's the outro. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
Don't see it on this old body of mine. Yeah, homie, I'm the kingpin, corn future, making a killing in these buildings in the millions. Got them feeling like Booster. Shit hot as Fallujah. Kids grown now, they cock Rugers. Welcome back to the sewers with new whips maneuver. No kids playing, no safe and sound havens. It's trade pound cases on the playground pavement. No more dudes with 22s in their sneaker soles. Kids throw shit that leave your body with heap of holes. I'm that neighborhood blizzard flooding these streets with snow. Heavy iron on them ready, my shit'll grease your clothes. Keep a flock of the sweetest souls, yeah I sleep with those. Little slum young Keisha Coles with cheaper clothes. Undercovers all around the gutter, they creeping low. I stays ahead, kid, I toss bread like pieces dough. I keep a chef around my torso with the beast below. That bulldog short nose, give you a piece with those, you know? Beat on the battle.